welcome back to the third episode of Lady Lazarus. Whether you're a first-time listener or you've tuned in a few times already, I really appreciate all of you, and it's been so cool seeing how this journey has started out, and I'm really looking forward to continuing it with you guys. As always, thanks for all the support and feedback on my last episode. It really means a lot to me, and I'm really glad that so many of you are connecting to the things that I'm talking about. And yeah, it just makes me really happy to know that I'm not the only one who is experiencing the things that I talk about, and that hopefully I can help some of you guys work through things that you're going through that maybe I've been through as well, or things that I've brought up in previous episodes. So that being said, today's topic is another kind of advice / lifestyle focused topic. It is getting your shit together. And if you know me in real life, you know that I am pretty good at making it seem like I do have my life together. I seem quite organized, I get things done. Basically, I'm kind of a poster child for appearing as if I know what I'm doing. Spoiler for all of you, I don't all of the time, and I definitely struggle a lot, but over the past few years, I've definitely grown and learned how to manage my life, get my shit together, at least to the point where people think that I know what I'm doing. So if you're struggling to maybe keep organized with school or with your job and managing having a social life with that and evaluating your priorities, things like that, this is definitely the episode for you. And I'm going to break it down into some key elements, starting with how to first get your life together, like the initial most important things you should do, then going into building a routine, changing your mindset, getting things done, and finally focusing on your relationship with yourself, which is so important. So I don't really have much else to say. I think we should just dive into this episode. I think for anybody who wants to get their shit together, the first thing you have to do is evaluate your priorities and why it matters to you to have your life more put together. Figure out where your weak spots are, where your areas of strength are, and basically you just need to give yourself a reason to try. Because at the end of the day, it takes a lot of self-discipline and motivation in order to pull everything together when things are falling apart a bit. And if you don't have any sort of drive to get you there, you're going to be relying solely on self-discipline and your ability to kind of monitor yourself, which at least for me is really difficult. I definitely find it hard to get up in the morning and be productive if I don't have a why or a reason behind it. So that's step one. Step two, get a planner. I know it's basic. I know that most of you probably or hopefully already have one, but seriously, if you don't already have a planner or some sort of system of organizing all of your due dates and other important events in your life, you need a planner ASAP. I personally like to use a mix of Notion and a physical planner, and also just like my calendar app on my phone. I know that a lot of people like the feeling of writing things down on paper versus just on your phone. So if you want a paper planner, there's plenty of great options, especially like Indigo or something. And I think also just getting something that's beautiful and that you like to use and that makes you kind of happy to use it is good as well. I have a cute little planner that has little flowers on it. It makes me really happy. So definitely do that. That is the most important step. If you can just anticipate things coming at you and be prepared, that is literally the key point of getting your shit together. So we already went over the most important basics, and it took, 30 seconds? So see, everything's fine already, and we're doing great. Anyways, let's get into now building a routine, which is also a really key aspect of getting your shit together. I know that some people are more interested in having morning and night routines and consistent schedules than others, but if you really want to get organized, pull yourself together, it is really good to have some sort of routine and system in place just so that you know how much time you're going to have in a day, and you can plan ahead on what's important to you and when you can get things done. So in terms of a morning routine, please don't hate me for saying this, but I really think everyone should consider waking up a bit earlier than they might be right now. I personally wake up at around 7 a.m. Not saying that I actually get out of bed at 7 a.m., but I try to wake up around then just so I know that I will be up and at it by 7:30 or 8 at the latest. Honestly, I found that it's really helped me kind of maximize my energy, and I find that I'm the most productive in like the mid to late morning, early afternoon kind of time. So by getting up earlier, I know that I'm going to maximize the amount of time I can spend on important things like practicing, doing homework, studying, etc., etc. So if you think you can manage waking up a bit earlier, I really genuinely do think it will help you get your shit together. And also it just maximizes my energy. I find that when I wake up earlier and go to bed a bit earlier, I'm less tired during the day, and I rely less on coffee, which is another thing that I wanted to bring up. Coffee, I know it's great. I love it personally, but if you can avoid drinking it, it's probably for the best. I feel like I'm just saying a lot of things that people are going to get upset about, but it's good to just rely on your own energy levels. And for me personally, I'd rather just take a 30-minute nap in the middle of the day than drink a cup of coffee, just because I know that I'm just going to crash again in a few hours if I drink one. And it kind of just like makes me a bit grouchy and whatever. I don't know. But if you can limit your coffee intake, at least like maybe just lower the amount that you drink if you're like a heavy drinker, that's also a pretty good thing. Another great benefit of having a consistent wake-up time and morning routine is that it lets you fit everything that's important to you into your day that you might otherwise miss or feel like you ran out of time for by the end of the day. For example, meditation, yoga, getting a workout in, reading, practicing an instrument, or things like that, where they're things you want to do every day, but you find yourself kind of losing the time for them. I know for me personally, I really want to start reading more, but I find that by the end of the day, I'm always really exhausted and don't really have it in me to open a book and read a few chapters. So I've started trying to read more in the mornings, which has helped me stay consistent with my reading schedule. Okay, so we've gone over the basics and we've considered building a routine. Now let's go on to changing your mindset, which is so important to getting your shit together. The most important piece of advice I can give to you in terms of changing your mindset is just stop putting yourself down. I see it all the time, especially as a musician with my peers, and obviously I've gone through it too, where somebody will perform something or show something that they've made or done or whatever, and they'll just put themselves down and they won't even recognize any of the positives of what they've done. As a student, and especially as a musician, I think it's really easy to look at people who are a few years ahead of you in your major, or even, professionals, people who have been successful in your field, and see yourself and think of all your inadequate aspects and all the things that you're bad at. But at the end of the day, you really have to look at yourself and value the achievements you've had and value the positives in your craft, whether it is music or another pursuit. I think once I learned to bring myself up and believe in myself that way and not put myself down, especially not in front of other people, that really changed the game for me. All of a sudden, instead of giving a performance for a master teacher or in a class and feeling bad about myself and rethinking all the mistakes that I might have made or the, different tiny things that I noticed that probably nobody else even noticed, all of a sudden I found myself feeling confident and knowing that I put my best effort out, and whatever feedback I was going to get from my teacher or my peers was going to be honest and helpful rather than things that were going to make me feel worse about myself. Kind of connecting to that, you also need to start believing in yourself and your dreams. I know that it's really cliche to say, but if you don't believe in yourself and your own goals and dreams and hopes and aspirations, who else is going to do that for you? at the end of the day, you have to be the one to be working towards what you want. And no matter what anybody else does or says or thinks, if you can't do that, you're never going to get there. It's a brutal truth, but unfortunately, it is just that, the truth. So I would really encourage you to evaluate what matters to you. Where do you want to see yourself ultimately in your life? Where do you want to see yourself in a year? Where do you want to see yourself in 5 years? You don't have to make a plan that's like super detailed. You don't have to say, okay, I'm going to be singing this specific note, or I'm going to have this specific job and things like that. But you should have a general idea of who you want to be, maybe on a personality level. Like, do you want to become a kinder person? Do you want to spend more time with your family? Or also evaluating the general trajectory of your career, where you want that to go. Whether you're maybe a musician and you say, okay, I want to be aiming towards being a performer in this orchestra, or have a job at this opera. Or if you're, working with another major, maybe something outside of the creative sphere, evaluate maybe where you want to work, or if you have goals to study abroad, or, you can really have anything, any sort of dreams that you have. Just believe in them and believe in yourself. And again, connected to that is just being kind to yourself. When it comes to getting your shit together, it's really easy to look at a day and beat yourself up if you're not being super productive all the time. I know that I really struggle with that, and it's honestly really hard to cope when you feel like you're just wasting your time. But at the same time, it's really important to balance out working hard and putting in the effort to the things you care about, but also taking time for yourself. It's equally as unhealthy to overwork yourself and get way too stressed about school or your work or whatever you're doing as it is to sit around and do nothing. It's all about finding a balance. So don't let stress from school or work or your job control you. Just trust the process, and don't let a bad day or a bad thought pull you down. Because when it comes to getting your shit together, you have to prioritize yourself and your own well-being. And sometimes you're just going to need to be kind to yourself and be gentle to yourself. So in terms of some activities that you might consider doing to give yourself some time to relax, I would recommend yoga, meditation, or journaling. Pick some sort of stress relief that works for you. And if you're feeling a bit unproductive, just give yourself time to do one of those things. So at least you're doing something positive for your mental health, or getting out those thoughts that might be stopping you from being more productive. And then you can go back to whatever it is you know you should be doing. Okay, so now is the moment that probably a lot of you have been waiting for. It is getting things done. How can you take all these pieces of advice that I've just given and implement them into your life so you can actually get your shit together and start getting things done? My biggest tip is to plan ahead. So remember that planner that I mentioned at the beginning of this episode? Yeah, take it out. Make sure you track all of your deadlines and events in this planner, no matter where else they might be on the internet. Say your university has a portal that has all your deadlines and homework assignments on it. Still write these down in your planner so that you know that you're always going to go there and have every single piece of information you need for work, for school, for extracurriculars, for other events that are happening. And that way you'll always know if you're ever double booked, if you have a hectic week, if you have a chill week. I know I've had instances where I thought I only had 1 or 2 assignments due. And then when I actually looked at my planner where I had everything written down, I realized that, holy shit, I have like 8 presentations, 7 assignments, 3 tests, 4 quizzes, everybody's had those moments. So you can really avoid them by just doing this one simple thing. For me personally, and probably for a lot of you as well, I find it really hard to remember everything I have to get done in a day, especially when I have a lot of upcoming assignments and deadlines. I tend to get a bit overwhelmed with how much work I have to do and not knowing where to start. So I would highly, highly, highly recommend making daily to-do lists as well to keep you on track. Just evaluate your priorities for each day and Break things down into smaller steps so you can actually get things done without feeling like you have a huge daunting task ahead of you. So, similarly to what we talked about earlier, you need to believe in yourself when it comes to getting things done as well. You are capable of achieving your goals, whether that's academically, in work, or just in general life. You are capable of achieving those goals. And in order to maximize your ability to achieve those goals, you need to set realistic ones. As long as you're doing the most that you can do in your circumstances, it's okay. I've seen so many people who get so worked up over one grade, one test, one quiz, one assignment, one paper, one essay, one mark in a class. And at the end of the day, whatever marks you're getting do not reflect who you are as a human being. The school system is massively screwed up. I've talked about it before, and I'll probably get more into it in another episode, but it is not a level playing field. There are some people who have brains that are wired better for school, some who struggle, and it all boils down to the fact that the school system is flawed. So don't beat yourself up over a mark or an assignment or anything like that. You are capable of so much more than just what your grades reflect. Don't allow yourself to waste time getting worked up about these things, and just trust the process. I know it's way easier said than done, and if things aren't working out for you and you are feeling really anxious or stressed about school, please reach out for help and advocate for yourself. There is nothing wrong with admitting that you need help or support. I've had to do it. I know lots of other people who have had to do it. And at the end of the day, if you're able to make that change and ask for help, things are going to get a lot better. In terms of actually getting things done with schoolwork, my favorite platform right now is Notion. I'm literally using it right now to read my notes for this podcast. It is a game changer. If you don't know, Notion is an app that you can get on your phone, your tablet, or on your laptop or desktop as well. And it's an organization platform where you can take notes, keep track of deadlines, make different pages for creative things. The options are really endless. It's basically like a completely customizable notebook, planner, and journal all in one. It's amazing. I'm obsessed. So how I have my Notion set up for school is I have a page for each of my classes with all of my notes, deadlines, and other assignments in one place, so I can always go to a page for a class and know exactly what I have to do for that week or that month. As soon as you get an assignment for whatever class, write it down. I repeat, write it down and make a plan for when you're going to do it, especially for bigger projects, whether that's a final paper or a midterm or a final exam where you know you're going to have a lot of work cut out for you. You should break it down into smaller steps and assign them to different days or weeks so you can keep track of your progress and make sure you're covering all the material you need to cover, or for a paper, making sure that you have enough time to research, make an outline, and actually write the damn thing. And speaking of outlines, please make outlines for any sort of essay or paper or big assignment you have. I know that a lot of people just feel like they don't have time for it, but it's going to be so much easier for you to actually get your shit done if you know what the shit is that you have to get done beforehand. So when I started making actual outlines by myself, that was a game changer. And I know that it's very high school, but honestly, it works. So you should seriously consider doing that. And in terms of keeping track of deadlines, I have a table with all of my deadlines, and I've filtered it to show all my upcoming deadlines per week. So if it's Monday, it'll show all my deadlines from that Monday to the next Monday. So I have an idea of what's coming up in the week ahead. When it comes to getting your shit together, I think a lot of people automatically go to getting your schoolwork organized, getting your job organized, things that are more based in your career or your academic life. But equally as important is your relationship with yourself. And at the end of the day, if you can't deal with yourself, if you're irritated by yourself, or if you have issues with self-esteem, as we all have had, as I have definitely had in the past and still struggle with, you're not going to be able to achieve the things you want to achieve to the fullest extent. So Take care of yourself. Get dressed every day, even if you're not going anywhere. It'll put you in a better mindset and build your confidence. Honestly, I know that it's so nice to sit in your sweatpants all day in your pajamas, especially with Zoom. Like, nobody's gonna know, but I really find that when I get up in the morning, actually get dressed, maybe put on a little makeup if I'm feeling it that day, and make my bed, have a tidy space, I seriously feel so much better and so much more ready to take on the day. You just want to make yourself feel confident and good about yourself so that you're not worried about feeling gross or messy or unorganized. I think you get what I'm saying. Also, having a hobby or an activity that helps you de-stress is very important, as I mentioned earlier. You can become a plant parent, you can read books, make music, cook, bake, literally anything. The options are endless. Those are just a tiny fraction. But seriously, having passions outside of whatever you're doing full time is so important. And for me, this podcast has definitely been a place where I can just create and have that stress relief and do things just for me. So I would highly recommend picking something that will help you de-stress and that is low stakes. And then also surrounding yourself with people who bring out the best in you in real life and online is so important to helping your relationship with yourself. If you spend all your time with people who are negative, say you're friends with somebody who is constantly putting themselves down or is constantly complaining, that's going to rub off on you. And while it's important to support those people and make sure that they're doing okay and being a good friend to them, if somebody is genuinely toxic and doesn't show any will to change how they are, you should seriously consider dropping that friend or at least distancing yourself. Just because if you surround yourself with negative people, you're going to be dragged down as well. It's unfortunate, but it's true. And that applies to online as well. I find that whenever I'm on Instagram or TikTok, if I'm seeing people who are bringing up negative thoughts for me, whether it's somebody who maybe looks a certain way, which makes me feel bad about myself, or somebody who lives a lifestyle that makes me jealous or just brings out any sort of negative emotions, I really reevaluate whether I'm following that person because I genuinely like their content or whether I'm following that person just because I'm jealous of what they have. And at the end of the day, if somebody online is bringing out those negative emotions, you should just unfollow them. Be intentional about the content you consume and make sure that what you're hearing is actually what you believe and agree with. And what I mean by that isn't that you shouldn't challenge yourself to think outside of your beliefs in terms of social issues or things like that, but in terms of actual core values like kindness or empathy or, honesty, that sort of thing, if somebody is acting in a way that you don't support, you should reevaluate whether you want to support that person. And kind of building off of that, also, as I mentioned earlier, you need to evaluate what matters the most for you. Is it your mental health? Is it exercise, building healthy eating habits, having time with friends? Just pick a few things that matter the most to you. You don't have to narrow in on just one, but you also don't have to feel like you need to have your shit together in every single aspect of your life at all times. I know that I don't, and I'm doing just fine. Pick a couple priorities every month and allow yourself some slack on the other things, just to have some balance. For example, maybe this month you want to focus on your mental health and building healthy eating habits, but you'll let yourself take a break from working out very consistently. And then the next month, maybe you'll indulge with some more unhealthy foods, but you'll keep on the mental health grind and work out some more. Having this mindset of being kind to yourself and allowing yourself the grace to rest while also being productive is really the key to getting your shit together. If you jump in all at once and try to become some sort of perfect superhuman person, it's just not going to work, which really sucks. And I wish it could work because it's really nice when you think that you have all your shit together. But at the end of the day, you just have to do the best you can and accept that, yeah, some things are going to be tougher than others. Some things are going to be less manageable. Some things might never be up to your standard that you want them to be. But we're human, and we can't afford to waste huge portions of our lives worrying about whether we are the closest to perfection that we can be. So I guess the biggest takeaway I can give you is just to focus on the present, because there's nothing you can do to change the past or predict the future. I really struggled with stress and anxiety over the past few years, constantly worrying about something I might have said in a conversation or past actions, and also getting stressed about the future, not knowing what was coming up, not being able to anticipate where I was going to get into school, what my grades were going to be, the type of person that I was becoming. But when you can just allow those things to be what they are and focus on the present, that seriously will alter your mindset and help you become a more put together version of yourself. Because at the end of the day, the only reality that exists is the present. The past and the future are just in our heads. I realize that I haven't talked much about music or anything creative in this episode, just because the nature of it doesn't really lend itself to bringing in different things that I'm interested in right now. But in terms of your relationship with yourself, I would definitely recommend having fire playlists that make you really happy, or just things that you enjoy on your playlist that you can just bring out and have a little dance party every now and then, sing in the shower, let yourself indulge in those sort of things. I'm just going to read off some of my favorite songs that I've been listening to lately. So I've been obsessed with the new The Neighborhood album, Chip Chrome and the Monotones, especially on the deluxe version. The song Here We Go Again has been my jam lately. And I also love Cherry Flavored, Middle of Somewhere. Those are both great. Been listening to a lot of Lumineers lately as well, especially their new album 3. Well, it's not really new, it came out like last year, but the song Donna, Salt in the Sea, Leader of the Landslide, love those songs. Also, I feel like I get a lot of my music interest from TikTok now. I don't know if that's just me, but honestly, I've been kind of enjoying the songs that have been popular on TikTok lately, especially Zanzibar by Billy Joel. Just gonna say, I did listen to Billy Joel before he went viral on TikTok, but it's just fun to know that there's like this weird little TikTok dance that goes along with this song that I really like. Also, Michael Cera's cover of Clay Pigeons is so good. I love Peter McPoland. Everything he puts out, this man is amazing. That's all I'm going to say about that for now, because next week I'm going to be talking about music with my lovely friend Jenny Armour, who is finally going to be out of quarantine on Wednesday. So we're going to record an episode together just talking about life as classical musicians who also love jazz music and other types of music. We're both so passionate about the topic, and we're going to have a really cool conversation, I think, about lots of different aspects of both of those genres, how they intersect, what we think some of the issues are in classical music that would be resolved if we pulled in concepts and ideas from other genres, a lot of stuff like that. So I hope you tune in next week for that, because it's probably going to be the most exciting episode so far. Anyways, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you're able to gain something from this episode. I know it was a bit all over the place, and I felt like I definitely didn't have my shit totally together when I was planning this episode. I just had so many little tips and tricks and advice that I wanted to share, and it's hard to get that all down in an organized way. So let me know if you have any sort of thoughts or questions or feedback on how you've gotten your shit together, or anything related to that, or if you have any ideas for what you want to hear Jenny and I talk about next week in terms of music. Feel free to DM me on Instagram at LadyLazPod, or if you're listening on Anchor, you can leave us a voice message and we'll be sure to give it a listen. I hope you have an amazing week. Make sure you get outside, listen to some good music, eat some good food. Sending lots of love to you guys. Bye.